welcome back to World Crisis Radio. It's probably worth mentioning that there is a faction fight inside the Obama administration on a number of issues, right? How far can you go in the betrayal of the Democratic Party base on this health care stuff? There are differences of opinion along those lines. There's no good faction. On Afghanistan, we're told that there's a split in the Obama gang on that. Biden says it's time to disengage. I think that would be the chaos card. Hillary Clinton, unfortunately, always predictable, always trying to compensate for the accusation that she's a weak woman, therefore having to strut as the biggest hawk and the biggest warmonger. Allegedly, Hillary Clinton saying it's time to escalate in Afghanistan, which is what McChrystal and Gates and this guy Eikenberry seem to be demanding. The idea is that Obama would continue the war in Afghanistan using Republican votes in the Congress to get the funding passed. Oh, my God, hope and change, and a Obama who leans on the warmonger neocon wing of the Republican Party. Anthony Cordesman, op-ed this week. This is a warmonger think tank operative, fairly authoritative as far as this goes. He wants more U.S. troops, of course, for Afghanistan, but he says there are factions in the White House, the State Department, and other agencies that don't want that escalation. And I think again, I would not sell a life insurance policy to Karzai at this point any more than I would to President Diem of South Vietnam back in October-November of 1963. So what does all this lead to? Tremendous cynicism, and this is now our Weimar cultural look back. The Weimar era is tremendous cynicism, right? Cynical hypocrisy, cynical nihilism. This is now spreading through the Obama bots. The Washington Post op-ed page is my barometer for this stuff. What have we got? These are mostly left-of-center columnists who were pro-Obama, some of them Kool-Aid drinkers and lemmings to a significant degree. David Ignatius says Obama needs to study Leadership 101. Eugene Robinson wants to know, where's Mr. Transformer? Where's the transformational effect of Obama? Eugene Robinson says, Obama, we got to have a little more heat, please, a little bit more energy. Stop floating above the fray. Jim Hoagland, I think we said this last week, quotes Sarkozy. When Sarkozy first saw Obama glad-handing his way through a crowd, he said, Est-il faible? Is he a weakling? That's Hoagland. Is he a weakling? Robert Kuttner says there's plenty of rage that the left should be mobilizing, but of course Obama can't do it, can he, Kuttner, because he's already sold out as a Wall Street puppet. Robert Kagan, neocon, says Obama's appeal to the necessary war is a myth. It's only necessary for Obama. I think you can see this chaos card gaining. Robinson quotes William Butler Yeats, the best lack all conviction, whereas the worst are full of passionate intensity. David Broder says that Obama needs to get much more energetic, right, to fight. Well, of course, that came up in the election, right? Obama refuses to fight. Obama wants to float like a seraph and reach across the aisle, and there was even a debate between Obama and Hillary. Hillary said, you won't fight. And Obama said, I won't need to. I'll just float like a seraph. So you got what you paid for, dear friends, and the idea that he was a warmonger in Afghanistan, that was up there for everybody to see. We now get this word that from Harold Meyerson, Washington Post. It's now where the rubber meets the road for Obama. We had an interesting dialogue between Ed Schultz, left-wing faker, and Lionel on Ed Schultz's program. Obama is not a leader. And we're getting other signs. Emails sent into Air America saying, I'm sick to my stomach because of Obama's betrayal. So there's now an immense potential out there. Obama seen as weak, a coward, a bungler, an amateur, a sellout, an incompetent, a betrayer. He's impotent. Well, we did warn you about all that. Will DeShill thinks that Obama's a state capitalist. Of course, this is historically wrong. This is the Mussolini fascist corporate state. The other important buzz on Air America is that a new McVeigh and a new Oklahoma City are now in the offing because people are so fed up with Obama, and isn't this horrible? So watch out, obviously, for that stuff. Now, of course, we've also got the time. This is now the 80th anniversary of the crash of 1929. And here I've got to mention my books, right? Obama, the Postmodern Coup, The Making of a Manchurian Candidate, the unauthorized biography of Barack H. Obama, and Surviving the Cataclysm, the newest. Let's go back to September of 1929. At the end of this summer, we had this interesting thing. The Coolidge bull market, in other words, this inflationary bubble, reached its peak on September 3rd, 1929. The peak of the Coolidge bull market in the chapter Models of Collapse, Chapter 6 of Surviving the Cataclysm. The high point was September 3rd, 1929. On September 5th, the market broke downward on the Babson story. Roger Babson was an economic forecaster who came out with bearish predictions. He was therefore called the prophet of loss. So that was the break in the bubble. And after that, the stock market went sideways and slightly down during September and October. Now, that may be what we just had. Tuesday of this week, September 1st, we had a 2% decline of the main averages, but Goldman Sachs went down 3% and Citibank went down 8%, a significant break, and that may have been a harbinger of something to come now. Who knows? On September 27th, 1929, Lord Montague Norman of the Bank of England raised the bank rate in London by 1 full %. And this was, of course, the giant sucking sound of hot money fleeing from the New York margin market, where you could have broker call loans to finance stock purchases with credit, fleeing back to London for guaranteed high returns. And the British were followed by Austria, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Ireland. British monetary authorities in India raised their discount rate by a full point. So the giant sucking sound as the hot money was pulled out of New York and across the Atlantic. And then we had a famous speech by the British Chancellor of the Exchequer. This is Lord Snowden of the Labour Party, saying that there's a speculative orgy going on in New York, and British credit is more reliable, and you can't trust New York. This is on October 3rd, 1929, speaking at the Labour Party conference in Brighton, England. So the interest rates in Britain very, very high. And then, of course, October 21st, 1929, the great crash began. That's 80 years ago, and there is a kind of rhythm in human affairs. 80 years, the number of generations that go into that seem to be, the possibility of similar events coming up now this autumn. I don't think deflationary crash is the most likely. I've said it before. Hyperinflationary depression, hyperstagflation, the planetary Weimar, more likely, especially as this tremendous crisis in mortgages, commercial real estate mortgages hits. We're told now that the defaults on prime loans in the commercial real estate market, not subprime in residential real estate, but prime loans in commercial real estate, is rising faster than the subprime ever did. This is now the main problem area. And therefore, as we look ahead, what's going to be the response of the monetary authorities as they attempt to prop up a bankrupt Anglo-American banking system, and indeed a world derivatives bubble?